Hello artists, what we're going to focus on today is adding some color to our very own pop art desserts. So we talked about how our inspiration is going to be from the artist Wayne Thiebaud, who has done spectacular drawings of individual cake slices, different kinds of desserts as well, not limited to cake, cupcakes, ice cream, and things like that. One of the things that we referred to and looked at, spent a lot of time looking at, is the use of color within Wayne Thiebaud's work. And traditionally, how we may portray shadows in drawings, sometimes we may use some black or gray tones, but within a lot of Wayne Thiebaud's work we see use of color in a new way to create those shadows. So I always like showing students this example here because you can see how instead of doing a black or gray shadow, the artist goes in and uses these really vibrant, beautiful blue tones for shadows with even a highlight of green around the edge. Keeps the drawings looking super upbeat, pastel, and bold and colorful. So we also see the use of a purple shadow with some orange tint to it. We even see a little bit of use of green and orange, and again with the blue and green shading over here. Even areas like underneath the frosting, we see these blue kind of tints to the color. So the fun thing about these desserts is with oil pastel or paint, we can create thick layers when we are adding the material to our piece. So we'll be applying that same concept, making sure that when we are working with oil pastel today, that we are applying it in a thick way and really working with some of the techniques that we've learned as far as how to add color. So I always tell students just to really experiment and have fun with color with this one. So I am just going to show you a little bit about, how are we going to shade these to also make the form look as if it's three-dimensional. If we want to make it look three-dimensional, what we traditionally need to think about is how the light is hitting the object. So if I'm thinking about the light source being up in, let's just say I'm going to have a light source from my top left corner shining down on the cake, or another fun idea would be having the light source shining down on the cake. I might have it from the top left shining down, and then do some highlights on the left side, and then shading more towards the right as my object goes away from my light source. So when I do that, I need to apply the concept that this edge and top part is going to be lighter than the bottom piece, and the darker areas and shadows underneath are going to be darker, using some more of those blue tones. So I'm going to get my blue pastels ready because I will probably need to use those for shading quite a bit. Now, let's say that I wanted to do my whipped cream just as a start. The nice thing about the oil pastel is they cover really nicely and brighten up. Even if you're using white, kind of brightens up the white tones a little bit when you're working with them. So I'm going to add some white to my little whipped cream dollop here around the entire thing. And if my light source is shining on that whipped cream on the left side, I want to add a little bit of shadow on the right. Now, because whipped cream is really light in nature and it's that white tone, I'm not going to get too dark with the shadows, but I may use like a light blue to do a little bit of shading. I could try something fun like even purple if I wanted to do some shading on the whipped cream, but we do see a lot of blue shading in Wayne Thiebaud's work too, so let me give that a try first. And what I like to do is a circular motion to kind of blend the two colors together. So after I go in and add that blue, I might take my white and just in a circular motion try really blending that nicely. And again, kind of darken that right side where I would see shadows. So I would see shadows in between each layer of whipped cream and on the right side of the whipped cream. And the left side would remain pretty bright because the light source is shining onto it. I might even take my pencil and try getting rid of some of my pencil marks since those got a little dark on me. going over those with white to camouflage. I don't want to see those pencil marks anymore, so I want to get rid of those if I can. Now if it's too light, I might just take a little bit of my dark blue pastel and just very lightly go in and add a shadow on the right side. So now it's starting to appear as if that whipped cream is round, and I really like how that blue shadow is looking. So I might move on next to the cherry, working with a maybe brighter red for the top of the cherry. And then for the right side of the cherry, I might do a little bit of that dark blue again, or what could be really cool is a purple tone for the shadow. So experimenting a little bit with the colors. We'll try purple to do a little bit of a shadow on the side. Just adding a little bit at a time, not too much, using kind of a circular motion when adding that. And then usually underneath your objects there's a shadow as well, because it's sitting on top of that frosting. So I can go back with my red, blend that a little bit so it's not too dark in there. And then on the left side I kind of have this little highlight. I need to go in and brighten that up with my white, blend it into my red a little bit. Just like that. So you can see the right side I have my shadow, the left side is a little bit lighter. Even for my stem of my cherry, the dark green I can use on the one side, and then I might have that transition to a light green going up the stem to show that shadow. It's looking pretty good. For the berry, I am going to do this as a raspberry, so I need kind of, let's say, some red and purple tones in there, but this is a really small form, so I'm going to have to be super careful with adding color. I might just do a little purple in between the different parts of the berry to do a little bit of a shadow. Maybe even little dots like in the corners of where each part of the berry are. And adding the red in afterwards. I will say, artists, the smaller you get with these details, it's tougher with the oil pastel, because oil pastels are bigger and thicker, so sometimes that can be kind of tough. I may even go to the extent of taking a dark purple or dark blue colored pencil and adding the shading a little bit more once I'm done here, but we'll see how this looks. And then on the right side of my berry, I'm going to add some darker tones with that dark blue. And again, add my little leaf to the top. Can't forget those details. Add some white to the left side of my berries. The moment I add these little highlights, and I'm just creating little round circles going over each part of the berry, that's starting to give it a little bit more depth. So all I'm doing is adding little white dots, and then keeping it darker on the bottom by going back in with a little bit of dark blue to add my shadow. If the red's too much, I can always add a little bit more red in, or if the white's too much, I can always go in and add a little bit more red in there. Move on to the strawberry. Do a bright red with the top left part of the berry, and then as I move down, probably use a purple tone for the shadows. On the bottom, right underneath my little lemon slice. That will get darker. Circular motion to blend my red and my purple together. Even each individual leaf, I'm going to do light green for the top, dark green for the bottom, to show that there is a shadow there. I think these little parts of the berry are fairly light, so I might add these little white seeds with my white. Later on, it's looking pretty good. I just need to touch up those seeds. It's looking pretty good. Now for my little lemon slice, I believe the outside of the lemon is kind of a bright orange. Maybe I'll do an orange slice instead of a lemon, I'm thinking. And again, I might use my blue for the shadow underneath. And I may have to just research an orange slice to make sure I'm getting those colors right. I have to do kind of a yellow in the middle and more of an orange towards the outside with a white circle in between each of the pieces. So I'm going to apply that same concept. I need to do that white in between. So I'm going to go in and add that right away. Blend that into my orange outline. And then it'll be orange outside and yellow more towards the middle. And I'm going to give that white a yellow tint to it. It's not completely white. My orange got a little dark, so I'm just lightening that up with some yellow right now. And if it ever gets too dark, I can even add some white in there too. And I'm just going to add a little purple shadow underneath the orange where it's hitting the top of my cake, and add a blue shadow underneath all of my fruit at this point, under my whipped cream, since my light's shining down on the top and giving it a little bit of shadow around here. I'm going to use that blue or that purple to add the shading. And let's say I want to do a light pink frosting on top. Now I'm going to blend that blue using a circular motion. When I go and add my frosting, I'm just going around the entire piece. And since my light source again is shining from the left going down here, I am going to actually add some white over here. That will blend into my pink as if the light is shining on that top edge of the cake. So this is when you'll start to get the frosting-like look is when you start mixing some colors together. So again, I want the left side of my cake to be lighter, the right side of my cake to be darker. So I'm going to go in and add all of that pink right away. And that's going to be dripping down the edge of the cake too, using a circular motion to blend my blue and pink areas together when those occur. And even the drips, if I wanted to add some shading to those, that could be kind of fun. So on the right side of the drip, I could do a little bit of a shadow. And then blend that in a little bit. Remember, I'm just using blue for all those little shadows. And as I get to the left, I need to add more of that white to my pink. Just like that. Add a little bit more of a shadow underneath. I'm really liking that look. And then after adding your shadows, just always make sure you use that blending to make sure it's not too harsh. Same concept will apply to my cake. So let's say that this is a yellow cake. On the inside, I am going to start really light over on the left. As I go towards the right side of my cake, that will get darker. On the right edge here, so I'm going to add a little bit of a shadow on that side, blend it in using a circular motion, and have that get lighter over on the right side, or on the left side, sorry. Mix that in a little bit. Shadow here. Blend that in. And I might do like white layers in between. And I actually don't mind how some of my other colors are smudging into my white. I kind of like that appearance. Seems more frosting and cake-like, gives it a little bit more dimension, so I might just brighten that up with some white in between. Darken that on this side. So the whole bottom right of the cake will be more in shadow. Even my white areas, I can go in and maybe do some light blue to shade the right edge of this. Blend that white into the blue a little bit so I have a nice frosting-like appearance. Use a circular motion if I need to blend it. And then on my bottom part of the cake, because my light's again shining down from the left, I'm going to do a shadow onto my plate as well. So whatever color I'm doing my plate, I am going to have a blue shadow on the right hand side of it. So let's pretend my plate is going to be blue. I can start off with my shadow and then go back and add the lighter version of that blue and blend it in. Just like that. It should be lighter over on the left side, so I can always go back in and add some white to that if I want to lighten it up a little bit. Just like that. And from here on out, I need to just finish the rest of my plate. And I'll also do that in kind of a medium blue color. And after you have your plate finished, then you can move on to your background. So that's complete. I do a really light edge of the plate up here since the light is shining on it. Brighten that up a little bit in here as well. And then as we get to this side of the plate, darken the bottom again, since there will be a drop shadow underneath the plate. Blend the medium blue into the dark. And I honestly love how a little bit of pink kind of blended in with my blue down here. I don't mind that. I actually really enjoy that. So left side lighter and then right side darker. I can always go back in and touch up with some more shading if I need to. If I feel like it didn't get dark enough over here, I can go in and add that right now. I can go back and add my little sprinkles on here. I don't even know if I love the sprinkles at this point, but let's see how they look. There we go. I could add a little bit of white to do a highlight to show where the edge of the cake is. Right in here, I can highlight that a little bit. Where my drips start to drip down, where the side of the cake is, just so people know where that is. Have a little highlight on there. Blend that a little bit more. The beautiful thing is, you know, once you have these really thick layers, it really starts to look like that cake texture that you would see on a cake. From there, I just need to go in and finish my background.